Hey, beautiful people! Welcome to another episode of the Joni Talks podcast with a tagline Real Talk, Real Stories. We're now streaming our first ever episode for this year 2025, and I'm so grateful because aside from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, our episodes are now available on our official YouTube channel. Just search for the Joni Talks. Yeah? Anyway, let me greet you once again. Happy New Year, and I hope you guys are all doing well, happy, and excited. Yeah? Again, welcome to the show. This is Joni Domingo, your host, and you're now listening to our 35th podcast episode called Learning the Lesson the Hard Way. You know what? Before we begin our episode, I just want to share with you what happened last December 31, 2024. I'm not sure if during that time if I was the only one who felt that way. Everyone was so loud and was very excited, you know. I'm sure all of us waited for that last minute before we reached the 2025, that 12 midnight to welcome the new year, you know. 5 minutes before the countdown, I was standing outside our door and was very anxious. I was so emotional, asking God, Lord, this year 2024, you made me win. This is literally my harvest year. I was always vocal about it, you know. But at the time, I was telling God, it's about to end. Lord, will this be the end of my season as well? You know what, guys? As a person who has been winning the entire year, I was so scared. I was afraid because the last minutes of the year brought me back to all the seasons I have faced. Like, you know, it flashed back everything. As in literally all the seasons I have faced. Like from 2012 to 2022, it's been like a planting season for me. It's been a waiting season for me. Then 2023 was my painful season. It's like, you know, a pruning season for me. And then, you know, 2024 came. That was the season that I have been waiting for so long. I always tell you guys that it's been my winning and harvest year, or have harvest season so far. And you know, there are a bunch of questions that came to my mind. And one of that was, what's next? Like what's gonna happen to me now? What's gonna happen to my 2025? After all the winning, after all the succeeding, overcoming, harvesting, what now? You know, God graciously reminded me. He said to me, He's been with me since the very beginning of my journey. I have been in His hands for so long. It was Him that brought me from nothing into something. It was Him who made me what I am today. And nothing is too hard for Him. God said to me, Joni, I can do it again. I can still bring you to places. I can still do great things for you. Just trust me. You know, from that very moment, I found myself crying and started surrendering again. And you know, this scenario made me break all my plans for 2025 that has been prepared and organized since October 2024. I asked God, Lord, break my plans in exchange of yours. Yeah? So to make the long story short, my season for 2025 is about total surrendering. It's about total surrender. And I love it. You know, in line to my current season, God wanted me to surrender. And one of my ways to do it is to share with you a topic that I don't usually share and talk about. I believe in my entire social media career, this is the very first time I'll be sharing this. So, here we go. Many of you guys know me as someone who's very inspiring. Someone who loves to inspire and encourage people and bring them closer to God. Yeah. And a lot of you has been telling me, like, I literally receive a lot of messages telling me that they look up to me, that you guys see me as your mentor. And some of you probably think that I live an almost perfect life. Just full of inspiration. But let me tell you, my life wasn't always like that. Because I had my moments too. Yeah, I am also just a human who get anxious, who get discouraged, uninspired, demotivated, and burn out sometimes. I also make wrong decisions that sometimes it leads to a scenario where I had to take accountability of my own actions. And even though I am often identified as an encourager, it doesn't make my life perfect or always happy. I also experience learning my lessons the hard way. There are times I get sad, especially when what I share on my content is something I couldn't even apply to myself. I get discouraged, I get distracted, frustrated, and vulnerable. And it makes me, feel so sad. That's why I was always vocal about telling people that my contents aren't really made for others but for myself. For example, when I tell you to keep going and not to give up, mind you, there were moments I couldn't even get up to bed. And times I wanted to just stop, When I tell you to be strong, there were times I couldn't even hold my own grip because I was so weak and exhausted. When I tell you guys to stay humble, there were times I forget to keep my feet on the ground. And when I tell you to trust the Lord, there were times I feel so hopeless and I didn't know where to go. You see, majority of those inspiring statements that I have been constructing and share on my socials are meant and relevant to what I needed to hear and what I wanted to tell the person I see in the mirror. And maybe you're someone who's also having a hard time admitting your pain or the failures or the errors you've done in the past. Maybe at some point you've disappointed or hurt someone, whether intentional or unintentional. I'm sure you also had your moments. Or you've done something you do not want or you couldn't tell anyone. It could be because of a pride or you just feel embarrassed. Or maybe the thing that you've done is something shameful, really. And it's okay. I totally get that. If you're not ready to be vocal about it, if you're not ready to tell anyone, I respect that. I just learned that, during my season of total surrendering, like literally now, I learned that acknowledging your mistakes won't make you less of a person. And it doesn't even mean you have been defeated in the battle or in a battle, You're just a human who is still learning. Just like me. The only difference is, sometimes I have to go through it the hard way. Yeah, I had to learn my lessons the hard way. Our pastor once said, you do not need to go through painful situation to learn a lesson. You can learn from other people's experiences. I highly agree to that. But whether we admit it or not, people are so stubborn. Me, personally, I am so stubborn. I was so stubborn. Sometimes, even though we know what's going to happen if we do this or that, we will still do it. That's people. I think that's like, I don't want to say normal human reaction, but people are always like that. That includes me. Yeah? We've always wanted to explore, take the risks, and experience it on our own. Yeah, and I actually encounter people who has the same mantra in life. I'm not saying it's valid or it's not valid. Because at the end of the day, it's you. It's going to be you to decide if you'll push through with whatever you wish to try to experience and to learn in this life. But sometimes people are not willing to surrender and acknowledge the shameful result of their actions. Yeah? I believe in that. But I think accepting what you've done wrong, it's so brave. And it makes you a human. And it is a sign of humility. It's not something we should normalize, but at the end of the day, you have no other choice but to move forward. If you've hurt someone, if you've disappointed people, if you think what you've done made them, lose their trust in you, there is nothing you can do but to still keep going and to strive not to commit the same mistakes again. Yeah? And since this is my year of total surrender, I think God started to make me realize the things I could have done better for His glory. And I believe going through this kind of process would help me mature and develop my character as a person. So, let me tell you, I've done a lot of mistakes, as in a lot. And when I create the content to inspire, I tell you, it's not a strategy. It's not about me being so hypocrite or to gaslight myself or somebody. I create contents using the lessons I have learned the hard way. I create contents using my own testimonies and what I have learned in this life and what God made me realize. And if you're someone who is having a hard time admitting your weaknesses or mistakes, today I encourage you to forgive yourself. Take some time to reflect, give yourself another chance, and make sure you learn from it. Look, I know it's not easy. It's difficult when you must learn your lessons the hard way. But I hope you see that as an opportunity to better yourself, to grow. Yeah? Don't focus so much on how you're going to redeem yourself, your image, your name, the character that you've been building so long, your reputation, and how other people sees you. Life happens. Just give yourself, or give your best in doing the right thing. Practice integrity, moving forward, surrender it to God. Because He's the only one who can redeem. Yeah? And today, I forgive myself. In line to my total surrender season, I am giving myself an opportunity to grow and learn from the things that I have done wrong. Of course, I cannot make a promise. I will not make any promise that I won't disappoint or hurt another person or lose their trust in me again. But I will do my best and I will ask God to guide me. Now, friends, family, I encourage you to do the same. It's the season of the year where you can have a fresh start, face a new beginning, acknowledge your pain, forgive yourself. Allow yourself to grow from all of that experiences. To grow from everything. It's not easy. But I always believe it's not impossible. Again, we're all humans who are still learning. I just pray that, we get to see each other on top. Let's do this. See ya.